Guys, and we're back with another low tier magic class line guide. And we're moving from sorcerer, and we're going to go ahead and pick up mystic at this point. And mystic is going to give you these spells in each interval. So dark damage, bolt for elementless damage, magic dagger and magic arrow for elementless damage. And now you'll be able to bleed your opponents, which means that 1, they'll crit less, and 2, they'll take damage over time each turn, after each time they have a turn. And then you have magic arrow, which lowers the opponent's attack, so that means it is going to make them a bit weaker. And these two spells are done with magic stat, not your attack stat. And this is to be highlighted because for this class you can use both the gear of a thief and a mage for it. So I really like this class because of that too, because thief gear is really powerful here, and I also think it's a good place to try out both class lines in one. So what I mean by that is you can build it with mage gear, and you can build it, well, mage weapons, or you can build it with thief weapons, and then the gear is pretty much going to be standard. Well, you can actually wear thief gear or mage gear too, so I will show you guys both of those. But yes, let us head over to this one now. So as usual, I guess I will add in thief here too, since you can use both classes weapons. And the thief weapons are going to go with the arrows, and I believe you begin getting exposed to arrows from the arena in tier 3. So you will have options like heavy arrow, which is the one I usually recommend because the heavy arrow causes stun. But these weapons now, you'll want to use those weapons like arrows with weapons that give you an attack stat. And then you can either dual wield. Yes, I would recommend dual wielding staves, and I will show you why pretty soon. We'll just go through the weapons, and as I said, you're just looking for the highest stat with relevant supporting stats. So the Batwing Bow is alright, but it causes defense down, so that makes it pretty legit, because defense down means that they're going to be taking more damage from your physical attacks. So if you're physical, you want that. But that is more of a PvP thing, or if you're fighting certain monsters that don't have an immunity to such a thing. So Boreal Staff, I'm not going to recommend. It's a quest item. I'm going to stick with items that are good and easy to get. Fire Pike is so good. Fire Pike is so good at this tier because look, 90, and you can get view distance with it, so you can see a lot more monsters. And if you get 2, but this is a quest item, so you need to collect 50 firestones and give it to this guy, Flame Walker Pyre, and then you will unlock it and you will be able to access them. You will be able to get them randomly at the end of dungeons, so at dungeon reward screen. But they aren't uncommon, like they are pretty easy to get when you consider how many dungeons you're going to have to do anyway. So especially if you're doing group runs, like you're going to need a second fire pike regardless, because you're going to want to increase your view distance, therefore allowing you to see more dungeons, so you can host more dungeons, so you can benefit from that. So this is an interesting one. This one causes bleeding, and as I explained about bleeding earlier, it makes it so that you are not likely to get criticaled by your opponent as often, because it will lower their critical chance by a little bit. So I'm just skipping through some of these weapons because they seem kind of weak. This one is a decent one, but this is another quest reward. This one I believe is the one for acquiring 50 lightning stone. Yes, it is. And giving it to that yellow lady. This gargoyle, yes. So now we've reached to one of the better items. So this young lady drops this item and it causes petrified. And if you've ever been in the arena and have gotten petrified, I don't need to explain this. For those who haven't, please go into the arena at tier 4, because I'm sure people are using this weapon. This is why I like the battle mage class line, because not battle mage, is it called battle mage? Mystic. The mystic class line, because you have access to stuff like this. So this with a good heavy arrow from the arena as well means that not only can you petrify people with your volley, but you can also stun them. So that is what I recommend for the arena. I don't really recommend playing mage early, honestly. I don't recommend playing the mage line early. So if you can cheat it in a way and use thief gear, you definitely should. But there are some things like, this is another interesting little item because this causes sleep. This causes sleep. So this one is decent. It has a little bit of mana. It has a decent magic stat. Even has a little bit of an attack stat. It will be useless in the end because that's way too little bit to consider. But it causes sleep. So sleep is one of the better statuses and it can work on certain monsters. So you definitely don't want to sleep on that. But the Gargoyle's Dagger, I don't think I'm going to find anything better. So this item is called a loot. It's like a hybrid item. So it gives you the opportunity to not only use spells, but you can also use your volley if you run out of mana. So this item, it makes it so you're mid in both, but you have the option of both. So I definitely would recommend this with an arrow. As I said, heavy arrow is still going to be my recommendation. You're going to want to throw on an element on this. And what I mean by that is, I'll hop over back to Orna. You will notice that my weapons have, this one has the dragon element on it. I don't think I don't use that. I would have done this one. No, I don't use it. Okay, so just the ones I use. Alright, I use this one. And this one is innate water. This causes paralyzed or frozen. I mean, it causes you to freeze. That's why I said paralyzed. But yes, so lightning causes paralyzed. Earth causes rot. Dragon causes blight. So you're going to want those special effects on your weapons too, just for the chance. They aren't as common as we'd like, but what you'll do is you'll find one of these places, an alchemist, and you can go into the alchemist, and depending, I'm not sure if it's always 200 or if it's level dependent, but let's say it is 200 that is required. One of the easier ways to get that amount is to do the getaway vessel and do the shop refreshing method, as I keep recommending. You get a friend with many shops and he has to probably be late game to be able to afford to refresh the shops a lot of times, but there are people out there like that, and you just let you take all the elemental stones, and then you can pretty much put an element on one of them, and bam, you got a weapon now that is now able to do paralysis on hit. So yeah, So this one is an interesting one. A two-handed weapon. I don't really recommend them, honestly, but it causes blind. And if you get a good one, you could try it out. But I definitely would recommend just going with one-handed weapon and your offhand being the arrow. And you do not have to use a bow, as I think I would have made clear earlier by just not saying that you have to. So this is another alternative to the other one that I showed you from the Google. This one is Carmen's Gargoyle, and this is pretty much the same weapon. This is, yeah, it is Stone Dagger. So why are they showing it to me twice? Okay. So this is another one from the arena that it itself causes paralyzed because it is innate. It's a Storm Scepter. So, and it's an Archistaff, so you might, I wouldn't recommend, as I said, using a staff to attack, but you won't need to invest the 200 lightning stones to get the element, because the lightning stones will be harder to get early game. So another option is the arena. So Yokai's staff. Let me show you the Yokai. The boss of, no, it's not a boss, the little baby spawn, the night only spawn of tier 4. It causes res down. As I said, you're not really going to be using this stuff unless you want to experiment, but I recommend experimenting. Res down is pretty decent. They're going to be dropping, like, I think about 25%. I don't think it's 25%. I think it's like 30% or something, but it's between 25 and 30% in their res. But lower tier people hardly have any res too, so what does that even mean? Like 20% of 10 res is fucking 2. Like, I think you can bypass that. So I definitely recommend going the thief line when it comes to weapons, and then or the hybrid, and then you can decide if you want to use spells at some point. So I'm gonna run through the gear just to see what things are offering and see what I want to recommend. So unlike weapons that you can put elements on, you are not going to be able to put elements on armor. So when you do find good armor pieces with elements on them, you're going to want to keep those because you might need them at some point. So okay, so this is dropped by Pumpkinhead, and that is pretty much impossible, so I will bypass that. Jester's outfit increases the amount of gold you earn, so it's a really good one for persons trying to earn gold, and basically just persons who get lucky in the arena, because it has the equal stats and it's pretty decent. Like, you're gonna find better stuff, but it isn't the worst thing you can find, because you're not going to be in tier 4 for long. So the best item in tier 4 for your chest is going to be the Yeti coat, and this item can be found in the winter weather biome, which is available, I think, for 1 hour every day, and it is on a 23-hour timer. So if it was 10 a.m. today, it will be 9 a.m. tomorrow. And this one has innate water resistance, meaning that all water spells will now be 50% less effective on you, as well as it makes you immune to frozen and these two other things, defense down and temporary defense down. So this is hands down the best item you will be able to get in tier 4, and you'll probably be using this item even in tier 5, honestly, if you get a good one. So, and you're gonna want water stones and hide to upgrade it. But I would recommend this as the chest. I'm gonna show you some shoes. Though this is nice, but it's too hard to get. I don't even think it's accessible, honestly. Yes, it would be, but Pumpkinhead, to do damage on Pumpkinhead at tier 4, or even to see a Pumpkinhead, you can't see a Pumpkinhead unless it's in the kingdom. Yeah, you actually can't. Wow, yeah. So Drake boots are one of the more common ones that you'll see, because you'll see Drakes. I think I used to see them a lot. Honestly, I won't say that. I won't say that. I will say maybe Fomorian boots are more likely to be what you see, because the Fomorian mobs are a lot more common than maybe anything else. Because, okay, so they're a day only spawn. That's interesting. I did not know that. But I know that I usually saw them a lot. But I usually play during the day a lot. So that's probably why. But as I said, you're just going to look for items that has a good defense and res stat. And there aren't many items in tier 4 that have that. So you're just going to look for the best ones. It really doesn't matter, because you're not going to be in tier 4 for that long, especially if you're grinding. And if you're not grinding, you're probably not watching this video. So okay, so offhands, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and just bypass these. This one is a good one, but this one is event locked. So I won't be going through event locked stuff, but I will just hover over it so you see it, so you can check it out if you want to. It's a decent one. It's decent. I still think arrows are better. And the arrows that we would have had would have been from tier 3. I don't think you unlock the other arrows until tier 5. And then you're going to be using your Great Monster Tomes as your accessories, because you're going to want that extra XP bonus. What? So this one has the XP bonus, but this one doesn't? I'll ask them if they can update it. But I know it's a lot of work, so not criticizing them, because this is all so amazing. And this is actually, how would I put that now, made by a person of the community pretty much. I don't think he is paid to even upkeep this, so it's so amazing. It's always being updated, new information is always coming. We're not going to see anything here because the arrows are in tier 3. The next good arrows are in tier 5, and you're going to want to put that on your to-do list, like just looking for arrows in tier 5 in the arena, blight and arcane arrows. But I will be more specific about those when we return with the other video. And that pretty much wraps it up for just a brief explanation of the tier 4 class, magic class, which is like the hybrid class. And yeah, but the only problem with this class is, I should say, like your ability to go into another class, like your tier 5 class, depending on what you want to do. So I go into majestic, so it's usually fine for me. But like some persons want to go into maybe dragoon, and that won't be possible, but you'll be able to go into majestic, which I'm most likely going to recommend, or druid, which is really useful too, because you need it for archdruid, I believe. Let me see what else you need for it. Yeah, so yeah, these early ones you can actually go majestic and be safe, because you can still go majestic into grand mystic and blade master if you want to go over into the thief line, and grand mystic goes into archdruid. Okay, yeah, you can get into, you don't need that for sure. So I would recommend majestic. So my next video is going to be on majestic, the tier 5 class. I hope this was helpful, guys. Take care of yourselves.